Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And today's episode, I'm talking with Liz Filmer from Liz Filmer Landscaping. So Liz runs a design and construction company based in Gippsland, Victoria, so 2 or 3 hours east of Melbourne, so in a regional area. So it was interesting talking to her, hearing about how things are different there. And again, mentioned a few times, but just the importance of who you start working for just plays a pivotal role in the landscape you turn out to be. So Liz was lucky with the guy she started working for, and she had to travel to go and work for him. But yeah, got a good person to start with, and she did her apprenticeship with him for 10 years, and then turned into a company. She's run a company for 25 plus years after that, so it worked out well. And Liz touches on some pretty important things during this chat, such as what she looks for when employing people. So it's mainly talking about what their personality is like and their work ethic. So that's a lot more important than what your actual skills are. And she also has recently moved to Orbost, which is further east. And she spoke about when she was working previously, she just sort of felt like she was working on a hamster wheel and just in it all the time, and then didn't realise until she moved to where she is now that was what she was missing. So that's how much she's enjoying where she's living, which is good to hear. So it can be good to sometimes take a step away from where you are most of the time to see if that might make you feel a bit happier potentially, or think clearer, or come up with better ideas. So it's always good to mix things up a bit. And even though Lizzie's starting to come to the later stages of her career, the job they're about to start is the biggest that they've ever done. So what an interesting timing for that. But there's some pretty cool things we talk about in this chat with Liz. So hopefully you enjoy this chat with Liz Filmer. Liz, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
Hi, Joel. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I grew up in a fairly remote area in Far East Gippsland. Everybody knows where Mallacoota is. Well, that's not where I grew up, but not far from there. And I grew up on a property, on a farm, so I was immersed in nature from sort of day one. 80% of what we ate, we grew on that farm. And my parents my father was a farmer, and so he was pretty busy trying to make a living off the farm. And my mother, she was out serving the community. So we were sort of left a bit to our own defences and made our own fun, all that sort of thing. So I grew up learning about nature without realising it. And the biggest thing for me from that, I suppose, is understanding that not everybody else has that knowledge. It's only still dawning on me that everybody else doesn't have that knowledge. So coming from, training staff and that sort of thing, I totally forget that they just don't have that understanding. So anyway, I grew up there, and I knew that I would have to work outdoors. I knew I'd have to do something creative. And so sort of landscape gardening was something I didn't know much about, but it sounded like it'd be fun. But there was no sort of scope for landscapers in Far East Gippsland back when I was 18 anyway. So as soon as I got my licence, I sort of drove down around the Sale, Bairnsdale, Traralgon areas and just went through the yellow pages. And for our younger viewers, that's a book that's full of names and businesses. And I flicked through those and looked for landscaping businesses in those areas and knocked on some doors. And one chap in Maffra put me on without even meeting me. I met his wife and gave her my resume, and then drove all the way back home to Far East Gippsland and got a phone call the next day from this guy and said, well, your initiative's got you the job. If you want an apprenticeship, we'll give you one. So I packed up my bags and moved down to Sale, and did an apprenticeship with that guy, and worked for him for 10 years or so, and was really fortunate. He was a great teacher and his standard was very high. So I learnt I learned not to take shortcuts in landscaping from day one, which was, I'm really grateful for. And eventually he decided to shut down his business because he wanted a bit more time to do family stuff and other things outside of his business. So he went teaching with TAFE. And so it was sort of around that time. I think I went and worked at a nursery for a little bit and another landscaper for a while, but eventually decided, as employers, they didn't match up to the original guy I did my apprenticeship with. And I decided if I didn't like the boss, then I needed to do something about that. So I'd start my own business so I could be my own boss then. And I thought I'd have weekends off. Yeah, I don't think I've had a weekend off since, but yeah. So yeah, I've loved it from day one. I love being outdoors. I love the hard work. I love moving physically. Yeah, and yeah, haven't looked back, I suppose. Yeah.
What sort of work did the guy you started for do?
Yeah, so a bit of a blend. I guess it being in regional areas, you it's a little bit hard. You can't sort of specialise on one area because you'd run out of work. So you've got to adapt and be flexible and do a wide range. So we did commercial work and residential. He actually, his family, I think his mother owned a sandstone quarry locally in the Maffra area. So we did a lot of work with sandstone. That was, his passion. Eventually they had to sell that quarry, but while he had it, yes, we did a lot of stonework. So we spent a lot of days out in the quarry sifting through rocks and picking out special pieces. So that was great. So paving, yes, lots of paving. He designed his own work, I suppose. In his own admission, he wasn't the best designer, but and stuck to his sort of range of plants that he was familiar with and his style very much. But yes, irrigation, a lot of irrigation installation, machine operation, and that, earthworks. Yeah, and I suppose he was probably always in the higher end of the market in our region because he never cut corners and did good work, so he charged accordingly. He probably should have charged more, but so we didn't do a lot of new homes. It was some schools and things like that.
I've said it so many times how lucky you are depending on who you start working with. So because you could have started with anyone, so it sounds like he was the perfect one you could have possibly started for.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lovely guy. And I noticed that when I went to trade school, I went down to Melbourne for trade school. I noticed that I was, ahead of the other guys by miles. And I think my upbringing on the farm also put me a little bit ahead of them. There's a funny story in one of our classes, which I think it was auto prac that we did. We had to reverse a tractor and trailer around a course. And I was the only girl in the group, and there was, I don't know, probably 30 boys, and most of them city boys. So I was a little shy thing, and I'm the last one in the queue to have a go on this tractor and trailer reversing it around the course. And all the guys are, jackknifing and can't get around this course, and they're all hanging, shit on each other. And it came to my turn, and they're just like, oh, this is going to be funny. Let's watch the Sheila have a go, And I just jumped on this tractor and reversed it, around this course with this trailer, flawlessly. And their jaws just dropped to the ground. And this, I'm just saying to myself, thanks, Dad, Yeah. So, that's we learned a lot of skills on the farm that I didn't realise would come in so handy later on.
Yep. Yeah, and I've had quite a few guys work for me over the years, and the ones who are from sort of more rural areas have got a better work ethic, by multiple measures. It's just insane how different it is where you're raised.
Yeah, we were put to work on the farm. It didn't hurt us at all. Did us favours. We thought we were being hard done by at the time, but certainly did us favours.
Even just like respect for the clients, like they're just the nicer people seem to be from not the
city. Yes, I do notice that with my clients, the country people, they're pretty special. Yeah.
I love what you said at the start about not knowing why other people don't know what you know. Like I have that same issue. Like not only consider myself to know everything, but it's hard because you're always learning. So you think because you're learning, other people would know what you're learning. But it's fascinating.
Yes, it is. It's it's hard to understand what they don't know when it comes to you. So organically, you might say. Yeah.
So when did you go about putting staff on? Was it straight away?
Yeah, pretty much put a young fella on straight away that I'd worked with at the nursery before I started. He was a bit the same. Nursery didn't suit him and he didn't like the boss. And so he pretty much jumped on board straight away. And he was a great labourer. Yeah, and I knew nothing about business and employing people at all, way out of my depth. And I guess we slowly, over the years, built up the team. And I learnt slowly on what to look for when employing people, and definitely looking for their character and their work ethic, and not so much about what their skills are, because we can teach that a lot easier than we can teach work ethic or character. Yeah. So, yeah, slowly just built up, I guess. I suppose at our biggest, we've had about 12 employees. Now we're back down to 3 guys on site, myself, and I've got an admin lady and another guy that does a bit of consulting to me. But I'm actually working on downsizing more and semi-retiring. So I think in 12 months' time, it might be just me and one other guy that is full-time, and then maybe just a casual. Yeah.
Has this been something you've been thinking about for a while?
Yeah, we've recently moved to a property, some acreage that we've owned for a little while, and always planned to build a house to retire there. Didn't exactly know when, but the bottom line was that our planning permit that we had to get in order to purchase the property started to run out. So we had to turn that into a building permit, and we extended that as much as we could. And then it was like, okay, we've got to build this house. So got this house built eventually, and my partner's now retired, so we've moved in, and yes, it's even further east than where we were in Sales. So it's sort of perhaps forcing me to slow down a little bit, the relocation, and I'm quite enjoying it. Where we were before in Sale, I guess I felt a little bit like I was on the hamster wheel, and I wasn't living my life. I was just running my business and never got out of my cave apart from to go to work. We lived in town, which I didn't realise at the time, but it wasn't my, natural environment. I wasn't happy there, but I didn't really realise it until we moved to our acreage, and it's like, oh, this is what's been missing from my life, So I want to enjoy our property here and, build my own garden and finish building the house. And there's lots of stuff I want to do, and spend more time with my partner and my animals, and just, we want to sort of revegetate some of this property for nature, and lots of other things I want to do. So in order for me to get time to do that, I think I need to slow down a bit. I've never been a good one at delegating critical roles within my business. So, I do all the design work, all the quoting work, and then I like to be on site as well. So as you know, that leaves you no time to do anything else.
Yeah, literally doing 3 different jobs for one person.
Yeah. So yes, I think that's where I'll head.
Yeah, that's good though. You can live your life, so not just working yourself till you die.
Yes, it's certainly, this move to this acreage has been life-changing for us. It's just been fantastic. I feel like I'm going to live a lot longer now. Yes. So I'm sort of in the process of relocating my business, you might say. We're in a bit of a transition period. So over the sort of 12 months, I'm gaining more work up here, and I'm sort of slowing down our work down in central Gippsland. But I have staff members, like one staff member lives in Traralgon and one in Sale. And then one staff member's in Maffra, but he actually plans to relocate further east up near us as well. So I wasn't prepared to just, shut it down and see you later, guys. I want to give them time and opportunity to decide what they want to do, whether they want to start their own business, or I know one guy, he actually wants to move up north, up Cairns way. So it gives him time to start to look into, where he's going to live up there and what he's going to do and that sort of thing. So a bit of a transition period.
Yeah, that's awesome that you can do that, because you don't want to just do a black and white line. We're stopped now.
Yeah.
Good luck. See you later. Thanks for
that's right.
Thanks for your service, but you're on your own.
Yeah, and also, if I shut it all the work down there, I might find that I'm sitting around with nothing to do. I've got to slowly, get the clientele up this way, which I have been doing over the last 12 months or so. And so I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem at the moment. Yeah.
So what have you been doing to get the work up there?
Well, we managed to get a foot in the door with the council up here, done a couple of really good projects with them. So we've built a relationship there and with the community, because the community sort of went on that journey with that project with us, and the outcome was just, we couldn't have asked for better. So that's been really fundamental in building our reputation up here, and I knew it would be. So I went into it not to make money. I went into it to make sure that the outcome was what the community wanted and the client. So, and it did. So that's really helped us, get a footing up here. And then I've been asked to speak at things like Rotary Club meetings, and I'm also sort of helping the community, get some more facilities like a pump track built and that sort of thing. So getting mixed in with the community a bit there helps me get known. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's a double-edged sword. Then it's like you're helping the community and also getting work from it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I saw one of your Instagram posts a couple of weeks ago. You're going to be doing some work at La Trobe Hospital.
Oh yes, the La Trobe Regional Hospital. So that's the biggest job we've ever done. Yeah. We've got to turn over
winding down, as you say.
Yeah. This is my last hurrah. It's by far the biggest project we'll have ever done, and we're going to turn over, in 6 months what we'd normally turn over in 18 months. So I'm a little bit scared going into it, but I do like a challenge, and the project's been delayed a little bit, but we're hoping to make a start within the next month or so. But I did ask my team before we took it on and said, do you want to do this project? It's good for them because it's close to where they live. And I sort of said, look, it'll have its challenges, but it could be really rewarding, and it's secure work for 6 months. So they committed to it. So I guess, one way or the other, I wasn't fussed if we did it or not, but now I'm seeing it as a challenge, and so it'll be a lot of fun. There's some interesting stuff in it. We've got to do a bit of landscaping, build a playground sort of on a second level, so craning a lot of stuff up there, and so it'll be good. Yeah, although I hope it'll be good. It'll either kill me or it'll either be great or it'll be terrible.
Yeah. So is that one of those ones where you quote it and then you get the go ahead and think, oh shit, now we're going to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. You panic. It's like, oh no, what have I done? And with the way builders are at the moment in the current climate, it's very nerve-wracking. I'm doing my best to mitigate my risk, you might say. Yeah. We've had terrible losses in the past where builders have gone under, and I'm certainly at the wrong end of my working life for that to happen again. So yes, very cautious, but so far so good. But yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the hard things about commercial work. Like I don't do any commercial. But I know a guy who does, and so and like there's like a 10% completion bonus. Like you won't get that till 12 months after the project finishes, and the builder holds on to that.
Yes, that's right. And look, often you don't see that again. Like we've probably only ever got half of our retentions back just because the amount of hounding you've got to do to get it, and then they'll make up some excuse or something, and it's just they don't give it to you unless you ask for it. And of course, 12 months down the track, I've moved on, I've forgotten about it, and it can be a bit tricky, a bit hard, and there's certainly lots of hoops you've got to jump through, and the paperwork's ridiculous. There's more paperwork, than there is actual physical work.
And you do all that yourself?
Yeah, I do. For this project, I have approached a guy that I've said, can you help me if I need help? And he said, yeah, that's no problems. He's freelances in project management. And I've known him from, when he used to work for a company that we did work for as well. So he's sort of on standby a bit at the moment to see how we go. Yeah, so I'm trying to implement a few apps and project management, software to help. So I've got a company helping me with that, setting that up. I had the apps in place already, but I knew I could be using them better. So I've got a company helping me sort all that out, figure out, how we can do that better.
What sort of apps are they?
One's Safety Culture, which used to be iAuditor. So we used to we do our swims on that and our checking our plant and daily checks on our plant and equipment, but it can be used so much more. So I'm learning and communicating with the staff and having checklists and that sort of thing, because I just hate bits of paper on job sites. It's woeful. It doesn't work, blows away in the wind, and using a vehicle as an office is that's pretty hard too. And the other app we've been using for a few years now is Workflow Max, which is an add-on from Xero. And quite like that. And again, I'm not sure that I'm using it to, its full advantage. So I've got a consultant just having a look at how we're using it and whether I can use it better. I would like something that does scheduling, but I haven't found anything yet that I don't want to spend a lot of money. I don't want to have, 5 apps at $100 a month sort of thing. Yeah, as you know, schedules can change, as soon as it rains. So, yeah, I would like a scheduling app, but not sure. Yeah, not sure if it's going to be worth it. And it would probably be only worth it for this project. So,
yeah. I find scheduling is probably the hardest thing to do for me because, like you say, sometimes it goes really well. I think, oh, this is awesome. I should do it more often. And then next thing you'll do a new schedule for the coming week, and it changes on day one. It throws everything else out.
Absolutely. Within the first hour, someone's sick, or something doesn't turn up, and that's it. It's thrown it completely out. So I'm sure there's an app that can then move everything along to suit. So that's what I would like. So you don't have to change everything. But I don't know. It's all in my head, and that's fine. But it's the sharing it that's the bit. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So you said that you do your designs. Is that you said that earlier? Did you just teach yourself, or have you done it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Oh, I did. Actually, before I left school and before I started my apprenticeship, I did do a course by correspondence in landscape design. It was pretty basic, very basic. But otherwise, it's just been from working landscaping over the years. And I guess I've always, as I said, had an interest in nature and plants. That's just been something I've grown up with. So I've always observed. And I guess that's how I've learnt and mucked around in my own garden. My own garden's always an experiment. Yeah, I'm certainly not as creative as perhaps I'd think I'd like to be. I see some of the stuff like at the flower show that gets done, and I just think, wow, that's just amazing how these people think up this stuff. Yeah.
I reckon everyone's like that though. When you see something new, you think, I wish I could have thought of that.
Yeah.
So what sort of percentage is your work residential compared to commercial?
Well, it fluctuates really depending on the market. At the moment, I would say it's pretty close to 50-50, although this big Traralgon hospital job's going to throw that out a bit.
Yeah.
So some years, like during the building the education revolution thing, it's probably 80% commercial and 20% residential, and then that all sort of died off a bit, and it probably swung around to 80% residential and 20% commercial. But at the moment, it'd probably be sort of sitting 50-50. Yeah.
Is one of them, do you enjoy doing one of them more than the other?
Well, it's an interesting question. It really depends on the project. Some of the work we've done for our local council has been a design and construct contract, so I've found that really satisfying because we've got to build something of our own. And sometimes just building something that an architect's designed can be a bit boring, but also it can be fantastic. Like this Traralgon hospital job has got some really interesting stuff in it that I've never done before. So that's going to be fun. And I couldn't have designed that at all. So, there's a lot of satisfaction in the residential where we design it ourselves, and just to see the client blown away by how it develops. That's, you can see their life change that's pretty satisfying. But then, playgrounds that we've designed and built, when you see the kids on them too, that's pretty satisfying as well.
I find when you've done the design, it's a lot easier to make a better project because you're a lot more confident tweaking things as you go, because you know the end vision, and you don't need to consult anyone to do that.
Yes, well, for years I could never understand how one could exist without the other, because that's the guy I work with, he did his own designs and we made it up, he made it up as he went along sometimes, and it just evolved. So it was all news to me that there was actually something called a landscape designer, and they didn't build the gardens themselves. I just thought, well, how does this work? But it's obviously all in the documentation, and then the designer might visit site. But to me it was, I just couldn't get my head around how it worked, because with us it's, yes, you've got a plan, but it's always evolves, and as it develops, it comes together, and you might make changes. And
I find those ones, I often make less money on the ones that I've designed because I want to make it look better because I've designed it. So I'll just do this; it'll be all right.
It happens to me too, I'm afraid. It's just like, oh geez, it would look good with that in it, wouldn't it? Oh, I've got to do that. That'll make it look so good on Instagram.
And then you're getting towards the end, you're going to get the plants, and I don't want to get those smaller ones I've quoted for. Get some bigger ones, they'll look good straight away.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we need a few more. Oh I'll just get a few more. Just to make it look good then.
And when I was first mentioning you, you said you were involved with Landscaping Victoria back in the early days
Yeah,
with Quinn Stanley and Brian Racken, I think.
yeah. Yeah, so early on when I started my business, I got involved and went down to Melbourne for a few meetings. It meant that I was getting home sort of midnight, 1 o'clock or something, which, yeah, eventually that novelty wore off. But yeah, those guys were great. It was the good old days, Joel. It was, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, so I do miss not sort of being involved with the industry, but I also, try to get some time for myself. So something's got to give along the way. But certainly, over COVID, I think I joined in on a few of the Landscaping Victoria's little drinks sort of webcams things they had, and that was a lot of fun. So certainly, the technology is making it easier to connect. Listening to your podcasts is sort of, I learn things, from other people in the industry that, I wouldn't have picked up on otherwise. So,
So have you been a member since, even though you're not going to anything? Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same. Like, I don't go to a lot of the events because I'll go to ones that interest me, or every now and then if I want to do some networking, I'll go along. But it's all in Melbourne, so it does make it a bit trickier for the rural.
Yeah. We have done a couple of projects down that way. We did a project in Mornington Peninsula and then one in Narrawarra North. And so when we were down there, I'd take the staff along if there was some meetings on. Yeah, and it was good. Yeah.
So do you have any sort of smaller versions of like Landscape Victoria or landscapers meeting up around the area?
No, we don't. I suppose, like, I know of, one landscaper in Warrigal, but that's a fair way away from us still. Somebody that I would consider a peer and that I'd like to catch up with, but it's still quite a distance away. And really the other ones that are in the industry up here, how shall I say? I have a wheelbarrow, I have a ute, I'm a landscaper. So I think I can find better ways to spend my time. That sounds really, stuck up, or better word, but
that makes perfect sense.
So I'm very much an introvert, so I'm quite happy with my own company. I'm not good at networking. I'm terrible at it, in fact. I hate it. So I get more energy on spending that time on my own. Yeah. So hence why I feel so at home moving further east. It's a lot quieter and
Have you done any mentoring of any staff, like who's worked for you and then gone out on your own or anything like that in the past?
Yeah, so I haven't had any staff go out on their own. I have got one guy with me at the moment who did a mature age apprenticeship with us. So he was a plumber, or he did a plumbing apprenticeship and decided he didn't want to be a plumber. But when he applied for a job with me and I saw that he was a plumber, I thought, that's good. So the poor guy hasn't got away from plumbing. It's coming very handy. Yeah, so I'm sort of hoping, because he's still with us, and I'm sort of hoping that maybe he would want to start his own business. He's got a young family, so I'm pretty sure he understands what that could mean, for the time that he can spend with them. So I think that might be what's holding him back. Yeah, so I think he's a little unsure whether he will or he won't. He might team up with a mate and do something. I'm not clear on his and I don't think he is at the moment on his direction. Yeah.
It'd be a good time to do it, though, I'd imagine. If he's staying where you were, then you're going to be contacting you. You can say, this guy's doing it now. So
perfect time. Yeah, all the work that, comes to me, I can just handball to him. Yeah, so we're sort of doing a bit of a trial at the moment where he's managing the projects in that area. So sort of he'll quote them and he'll, do them. And then the idea is that if we make any profit, he gets a share of that. So so that's a bit of a trial at the moment that we're doing. Give him a bit of a taste of it, I guess. Yeah.
Have you ever had any business coaching for you at all?
Yes, I did do business coaching. I'm a bit stubborn with the way I run my business, I guess, and it makes a rod for my own back. I won't accept second best, and what my clients want is personalised service. That's what sets me apart from some of my competitors. is when they're getting Liz Filmer Landscaping, they're getting Liz Filmer. And I think that's why a lot of them get me. So I've found it difficult to delegate and put in systems in place and that sort of thing, because my staff aren't me. So, yeah, we tried systems and things, but yeah, I'm not a big fan. I try to instill my values in my staff and get them to understand what we're trying to achieve. And my thoughts are if they operate with my values, then, the end result should be pretty close to what I want them to do. What I don't want to do is write procedures and give them a procedure and say, here, this is how you plant a plant and this is how I want you to plant a plant and tick this box when you've done it. That's very much how I don't want to operate my business. So I had a little bit of a struggle with the business coaching in that, I found that they wanted to systemize things quite a lot. And look, it's probably the way to do it if you're smart, and I'm just not smart, but I'm got to do what I'm comfortable with. And I see a lot of businesses operating, a lot of trade businesses operating, and I know that that's how I don't want my business to operate. Yeah, I don't want to, the feedback we got when we got this Traralgon Hospital job was the reason you got the job, Liz, was because I know you won't just send a crew. I know you'll be coming. So to them, that's the risk management. That's the built into the project right there, sort of thing. That's the quality control built into the project. So yeah, I'm sure I got something out of the business coaching. I'm sure there was a lot of takeaways that I haven't even realised. And I did do a leadership course for 12 months. That was pretty heavy going. And again, I'm not sure that I know that I took anything away from it, but I'm sure I probably did, even if it just raised my awareness of, how you've got to pay attention to being a good leader than just rock up on site and point fingers sort of thing.
Yeah. One of the things I've been hesitant about having a business coach is when I've had anything to do with them, they seem like there's like an instruction manual. This is how all landscapers should be. Yes. Every business should be exactly the same. This is what works. Yes. But not everyone's got the same goals.
That's right. Absolutely. And landscaping, it's such a varied and organic and sort of, I'm trying to think of the word, but it really the influence comes out of the business owner a bit on the garden, the design of it, and just the quality, and it's just it's a bit like trying to, get an artist to, streamline their business or something. Not that, I'm saying I'm an artist, but...
I think landscaping definitely is an art.
Yeah, I guess it is a form of art. So, yes, I agree. It's like, it's not something you can put in a manual.
Yeah, and there's some that will work for because they want to get to that, but... they're probably very good at being a business manager, but I think I'm not. And I it's not what I want from a business. I want to be out there in it. So yes, but it's taken me years to figure that out, I guess. Well, how long have you been in business for?
Since sort of 1998. So 27 years or so.
So I think you've been doing all right if you're still going.
Still tick along. Still got my house.
That's good. Now, when you had 12 staff on, what sort of did you have multiple construction crews going, or how was that broken down?
We at that time we sort of had a project that was running over 12 months, so it was a continual stream of work for 12 months. So there was. We were doing that job. It was a commercial job and it was done in stages. So we were doing that job plus a few residential ones to fill in between. So it was easy as far as managing the staff because there were sets of drawings for that job and you could give them the drawings and say, okay, this is, and they had a site manager there so that could, problem solve when the drawings didn't match or whatever. So it was pretty easy sort of system then. But,
have you ever had a designer on your team, or you've always done them yourself?
So I had a guy that worked for me sort of as a bit of business consulting, actually, and he was very valuable. And he came along just because he was sort of interested in landscaping when we became friends, and he had an interest in business. So he did actually sort of set up more in the administration side of my business, systems for the administration side. And because of his interest in landscaping, he went and did a diploma in landscape design, and he's actually a civil engineer as well. So he's got some very good practical background, and then having the design as well. So he helps me with some of my commercial projects that involve design, because he's quite good on AutoCAD and things like that, and knowing the engineering background, sort of knowing what's going to comply and that sort of stuff. So he does a little bit of work for me, which is great. I'd like him to do more, but can't afford him. So yeah. But otherwise, it's basically me. I have got another girl I've had doing a little bit since I've moved up here. She's been sort of taking some of the projects in sale, the design projects. She's only very new at it, so I'm sort of limited to what projects I can send her way. And it was really more of a hobby, I suppose, for her. She had work. She has another business that she operates, so it was more of a personal development thing. And me just trying out to see, because my thoughts are that someone could have a lot better ideas than me. So why not pull the resources and get their ideas and see what we come up with. So, but as I've moved away, it's become more difficult. Yeah.
Yep. And have you done many designs where like the client builds it or get someone else to do it and you're just doing the design, or most of it you're doing?
I try not to, just because it ties me up in the office, and really I hate sitting in the office. So I'm really only interested in a design if it's going to then put work in front of my staff, because that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, is just organising work in front of them. So if I'm doing a design and it's not going to put work in front of them, it's just tying up my time. So moving forward, though, as I downsize, maybe I'll do more of that sort of work, possibly. But yes, in the past, I certainly haven't tried to do design only.
Yep. Have you had many women in the construction team over the years?
I had a woman apprentice, so she did an apprenticeship with us. I think she was with us for about 7 years, and then she moved up north. Yeah, and her nickname was Bulldozer. She was magnificent. Yeah. We haven't, I recruit staff. I never advertise for them. It's if somebody comes along, if it's someone who knows somebody who knows somebody.
Yep.
And like I said, it's their personality, it's their work ethic. So that lady, she actually did grow up in Mallacoota. So and her father was a builder. So yeah, she was already half trained,
Yep.
So yeah, she was great. I have had other females on from time to time, casuals, over the years. So to me, it doesn't matter what you are, it's what your work ethic and your attitude is. Look, I forget I'm a woman. I just go out there and do it. It's people say, oh, look at there's a woman doing that. It's like, where show me.
I'm out advertising at the moment for an apprentice, and I found that the female applicants seem to be a lot more intelligent and actually care about their application, whereas blokes will just apply for jobs saying, I want a job.
Yeah.
And when you employ them, they seem to have a lot more attention to detail and actually care, more passion as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, but I think the attention to detail thing is a female trait for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting one. But yes, just the cleanup, that sort of thing. Definitely noticed that. Yeah.
Yep. And my last question for you, Liz, is who do you think would be a good guest to have on this podcast?
I knew you'd ask this question, and I was trying to think. As I said, I don't have a lot of peers up here, but I did hear Bernard Trainer talk once, and he seems like a top chap. Really interesting guy. Was raised at the Mornington Peninsula, and now is in California. Yeah, and I really admire his work. I love his work, so I reckon he'd be a nice one to chat to.
I think he's quite well known, isn't he? Might be
probably. Yeah, look, he might. His time might be a bit hard to come by.
Well, it's the most popular landscaping podcast in the world, so I'm sure he'll be keen to come on.
Well, it is, Joel. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. As I said before we started, it's easy. Like we get a lot of people from Melbourne. It's easy enough to get them. There are a lot of similar people,
Yeah,
but it's fascinating to hear, different people from out more rural areas. So
yeah.
thanks so
Well,
much for coming on and
thanks
sharing.
for thanks for thinking of us up here in the sticks. Yeah, it is a different environment up here as far as the scope of work and the money. Even I've got a friend who's a vet up here, and she said, it's when the people come in, and their dog's been bitten by a snake. It's like, oh, how much is the anti venom, and say, oh, we've got some here that's expired and it's half price. Oh yeah, can we use that? But in the city, no, don't use that. Just do it now. Just I don't care. It's just the disposable incomes, or it's just farming's not that profitable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But so the scopes, not quite as and then it's different clientele. So it's a few differences, but.
Yeah, but I reckon it would help the fact that you were born and raised there. So it's not like you've been in Melbourne working on these type of projects and then you've moved out there and then trying to completely change.
Yes, probably does help. When I first started my business, I was just, how on earth could people afford to spend 20 grand? It was like that was a huge amount of money to me. It's like, I can't charge them that much. They'll never pay that.
Yeah,
it's slowly dawning on me that some people have got money. Yeah.
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 All right, Liz, thanks so much. Really appreciate
Thanks,
your time.
Joel. And well done for everything you're doing within the industry. I really admire it. It's I love your modesty and your honesty. It's great.